Luckily for Nissan, their stock is not listed on the US stock exchange, so they can't be prosecuted by the SEC, which they should be because they just lied. In fact, they just committed a lie equally as egregious and equally as dishonest as Toyota's lie. And the reality here is, if you believe their current utter nonsense, then you also believe that Nissan isn't guilty of corporate malfeasance, that they haven't been following around their employees and bugging their houses and filming what they do inside their bedrooms, which they have been, which they've admitted to. This is a company full of lies, full of corruption, and to be honest, it is sick to the core. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I want to point out, I have never made that comment about any other car company, ever, on this channel. I've made some bankruptcy predictions. I've predicted some companies are more likely than others. I've said some pretty harsh things, but I have never, ever said anything that harsh about a car company, ever. But unfortunately, in Nissan's case, it's true. Right now, their debt is rated as junk. Their sales are rapidly declining. China, as it was their most important car market, it no longer is because they've lost too much market share within the last 24 months for it to actually rank as its most important country. Now it's the United States. Well, their market share in the US will drop significantly over the next few years. There's no other alternative, and Nissan is getting desperate. So desperate they're willing to make things up. They're claiming now that they have a solid-state battery, that they are basically converting an entire factory in order to begin building solid-state batteries. And yet, the world has never seen this mythical, incredible solid-state battery, which Nissan says will power its electric cars in 2026 and 2027. That, my friends, is utter nonsense. Now, if that does happen, if Nissan do mass manufacture solid-state batteries in 2026 or even in 2027, I will shut down this channel. I'll literally turn it off. I'll make a final video and I'll say, guys, I was very wrong. I apologize. I led you astray. I was wrong. However, I'm not going to be losing any sleep at night between now and then. Nissan Motor Company's oldest factory, its storied factory in Yokohama, wasn't just the carmaker's original headquarters. It also housed Japan's first integrated mass production line for automobiles, and today it still makes one of the world's most sophisticated internal combustion engines, a powerful variable combustion ratio turbocharged unit. Automotive News says, in a symbolic shift for the nation's auto industry, Nissan's sprawling Yokohama complex next year will begin pilot production of advanced solid-state batteries. Pilot production, meaning they clearly have prototypes now already. These are the holy grail of next-generation electric vehicles. The breakthrough battery pilot comes, say experts, on top of the factory's ramp-up of electric motor output in recent years. And it's a potent symbol of Japan's transition from internal combustion to the modern age of electrification. Automakers from Toyota Motor Corporation to Honda Motor Corporation are reconfiguring their domestic operations to meet demand for electrification while trying to avoid job cuts. Now, that's what Automotive News says. Obviously, they're not meeting the demands at all. That's why they're losing sales to companies like Tesla, BYD, Aeon, and many others in China. Not just in China, but in many markets around the world. As Yokohama on Wednesday commemorated building its 40 millionth engine in June, the wider shift to electrification is looming large. Globally, Nissan expects to get 44% of its sales from EVs or e-power hybrid vehicles by its 2026 fiscal year. However, less than 5% of its current production are electric cars. That's a big jump in only a few years. And considering Nissan doesn't currently have a large factory dedicated to electric vehicle production, it seems like a fairly optimistic goal, I would say. In Europe, Nissan is targeting an even faster tilt. 98% of its volume from EVs and hybrids in that period. In the US, Nissan expects more than 40% of its sales to be fully electric by 2030. And it says the majority of those will be powered by its new, incredible, groundbreaking solid-state batteries. About 40% of the old engine's factory output is dedicated to electric motor output, such as units for its e-power hybrid system. Now, that's not a full electric car, it's a hybrid. That percentage is expected to expand through the end of the decade. Yokohama plant manager Kamiyo Wada said, "We have other challenges that we want to take on in the future," Wada said. "We want to focus on new contemporaries as well as do this in parallel. Top among them is the pilot program for solid-state batteries, bringing Yokohama, a plant that dates to 1935, into another new era. Nissan believes it can deliver a battery en masse by 2028 that holds twice the energy of a lithium-ion battery, charges in 1/3 of the time, and costs only $75 per kilowatt hour. In other words, it will be cheaper than any current battery technologies being mass-produced today. The company also thinks it can whittle that cost to $65 before too long, achieving price parity with gasoline-powered cars. Now, the truth is, if that battery has double the energy density of today's battery packs, it doesn't need to have batteries costing $65 per kilowatt hour to achieve price parity. It should be able to achieve price parity at a cost of $100 per kilowatt hour. And I think Nissan's boffins have done their sums on that one. Anyhow, through the end of the decade, Nissan's transition to electric and electrified vehicles, say Automotive News, will likely result in a dramatic reduction in headcount at the factory because manufacturing motors and batteries is more automated and requires fewer workers, say Nissan. The automaker's goal is not to cut jobs, but to retrain the remaining workers for tasks related to the technologies that are being introduced. As the scope of endeavours expand, the number involved in these processes will too. However, keep in mind, Nissan sales are shrinking rapidly. Its debt is rated at junk. And in most years that aren't a weird anomaly where the Japanese yen receives massive depreciation, Nissan loses money. Ironically, the ever more efficient production of gasoline engine vehicles will play an important role in electrification, believe Nissan. That is because reaching lower costs and fatter margins on old school engines will help deliver the funding needed to invest in higher cost, lower margin EVs. Since 2017, when Nissan started production at Yokohama of its advanced variable compression engine, the VC Turbo, the company has made several moves to improve quality, efficiency, and costs, says Shinichi Kiga, Director of Alliance Powertrain Engineering. An example was the introduction of a robot to check the metal gap tolerances in the engine links. That was done by hand up until 6 months ago. On the 3-cylinder VC Turbo that Nissan uses in the Rogue, X-Trail and Qashqai crossovers, production engineers have cut manufacturing costs by 7 to 8%, said Kiga. Therefore, engines will carry on. Engine output will continue at Yokohama around the same level for some time, says the company. The engines made there are themselves an important component of Nissan's electrification plan. The automaker is already pairing units such as the powerful yet fuel-efficient VC Turbo with the e-power system to eke further reductions in emissions. Nissan is giving the Yokohama factory an extended lease on life by using it as an incubator and testbed for future production technologies, such as the upcoming solid-state batteries. Now, it's worth keeping in mind, Nissan making these wild claims about the efficiency and about the reductions in emissions of its next-generation engines, which it has invested hundreds of millions of dollars into, are really a weird false dichotomy. Why do I say that? Well, if you think about the efficiency of an electric car, they're up around 80 to 90%. Gasoline vehicles are between 20 to 30. If Nissan has improved its efficiency and its emissions of its vehicle by a couple of percent as it claims, it's still light years away from the efficiency of an electric motor. After introducing production of the VC Turbo, Nissan ceded production of a 4-cylinder variant to plants in the US and China. The bigger unit goes into such nameplates as the Infiniti QX50 and QX60 crossovers, as well as the Nissan Altima. If all goes well with solid-state battery production, Nissan plans to launch mass-scale manufacturing in 2028. Doing so would help deliver on CEO Makoto Yukida's pledge to deliver the lightweight, compact, energy-dense batteries to market in just 5 years. Now, if you want to make a lot of money, I have an idea. Short Nissan. Now, Nissan have no hope in hell of mass producing these solid-state batteries by 2027 or 2028 when they claim. Now, they originally said 2026. They've now moved the goalpost to 2028. That'll continue for the next 10 years. They don't have a solid-state battery that they can mass produce today. They're simply hoping they'll have one in time for this proposed 2028 mass production date. They have never, ever unveiled this prototype, and they won't anytime soon because it simply does not exist. This is Nissan doing a Hail Mary. Sadly, Hail Marys rarely work, especially when the path ahead is actually very clear and it's got nothing to do with mythical solid-state batteries. It's simply knuckling down and going all in on electrification. Electrification is not about solid-state mythical batteries. It's not about fairy tales and rainbows and magic. That's for children. In the real world, lithium iron phosphate batteries, M3P batteries with manganese, are reducing in price. Energy density is continuing to increase every single year. Batteries like those and sodium batteries will be the battery technology of the future because they are real. Their performance benefits are real. Their price is real. Their mass production is real. And it's not just a made-up story by a desperate company hoping to fend off bankruptcy.